Hi, this is April. Welcome to Crafting in the Night. In today's video, I'm going to show you all of my finished objects for the month of July 2023. If you're new here, on this channel, I love to share everything crochet and yarn related. Let's get started. First up is my blue marshmallow blanket. This is completed using blanket type yarn in 3 different shades. And this was a blanket I had on the hook for when I first started crocheting, and then I found it again when I was digging through a finished objects pile, or what I thought was a finished objects, and it turned out that this one had a bunch of loose ends that hadn't been weaved in. So because I finally weaved in those ends in the month of July, I'm going to count this as a finished object for the month of July. Isn't it cute? For this blanket and the others that you'll see in today's episode, I'm going to place a link in the description. Some are my patterns and I have written patterns or video tutorials for them, or will have them soon. And others, like this marshmallow blanket, are patterns that I obtained elsewhere, and where possible, I'll include a link in the description as well so that you can create a beautiful project like this. Next up is actually my most recently completed finished object. This was completed on the very last day of July, and it's just getting ready to be filmed for the August podcast. This is a vintage pattern, and this pattern was really kind of a brain teaser for me, just translating what they had written. It really wasn't plain English. So this uses what I call the sprinkle stitch, and I do have a tutorial available, and you can't really see it in the colored version, the white colored version, but in the self-striping yarn, which I'll show you next, you can really see how this stitch works up. For this pattern, they had us make panels, which was really great. I was able to take this project on the road and just do panel by panel, and then they had us join them. So we put a little bit of this was like a single crochet, chain 3 single crochet, and then on top of that there was a puff stitch, and then that was joined in the center with this single crochet again on both sides of the panel, and then we worked that puff stitch all the way around, then a mesh, and then it actually called for a much more intricate border than what I wound up putting on, but I wound up putting this shell border on. You can kind of see, and I think it turned out really nicely. So this one is just a vintage, I think I'm going to call it the white sprinkle blanket, but I'm not 100% sure, but it worked up really nicely. This next blanket is the colored version of that white one. So this again is using the sprinkle stitch, and if you look closely at the sprinkle pattern, I think it's actually better if I hold it. Nope, you can see it there, but you can see the way the stitch works up. There's these tiny little stitches that kind of dip into the other color, and for me at least it looks like little sprinkles. This one I had decided I liked the stitch a lot. It's very much like a single crochet, but it's kind of like a single crochet 2 together, and then there's some chains in there. I do have a video tutorial, so I'll link it up above, but I'll also put a link in the description. It's a really fun, easy, simple stitch, especially if you're a beginner. So I made it all using one stitch, and then for the border I just found a vintage border pattern as well that I put on, and it's kind of I think it's got 3 or 4 grannies in there. I think it was 2 double crochets and then a space, and 2 double crochets, and then the top I believe was 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. I still need to write up the pattern for the border, so I've got to find where I got it again. Again, it was one of those vintage patterns that really didn't make a lot of sense, so I translated into English and then like common crochet terms, and then I'll make a chart for it and do a tutorial, and then we'll have it posted on the website too once that's done. But this is the sprinkle stitch baby blanket, and it's super, super cute, using Karen cinnamon swirl cakes. Next up is a corner to corner blanket. If you have watched this channel before, you know that I always have at least one corner to corner project going at any one time. So this was one that I had taken some yarn I was going to use for another project, which that project had this turquoise, Red Heart Super Saver in turquoise, and white and gray, and it also had red, but I put that project in my UFO pile, my unfinished objects pile, and instead decided to repurpose the yarn for this corner to corner. And I do think it came out really nice. And then for the border, I worked up a simple, just kind of granny cluster border. So what I did was just did 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, single crochet in the middle, and then repeat 3 doubles, 2 singles, 3 doubles, single crochet. And then at the corners, I didn't do anything special around the corners. I just did a single crochet into the corner and then started the shell again. So depending how you look at it, it kind of looks like a shark's tooth if you pop up these, if you pop up the middles, or just a pretty shell. But this is a really nice blanket. I'm happy with how it turned out. And this is my corner to corner blanket that I finished in July. Last but not least is the Country Fields blanket. So this is a Yarnspirations pattern that I had worked on for a very long time. It was just really kind of hard for me to want to power through. And most of that was where I thought this pattern would be fun with the color changes. There's so many rows of double crochet, and especially because I started it when I was first learning, that my sides kind of got a little wonky. Plus, the way that the colors are laid out, I think this pattern, if you planned out your colors right, could be really nice. If you planned the color sequence in a way that you could carry the yarn up the side of the blanket. That's not how the pattern was written, and since I was following the pattern as written, I got really frustrated with the number of ends to weave in. Overall, I'm really happy with the way the blanket turned out though, and I'm glad I did it. So each of the 4 baby blankets behind me are going to be donated to Project Linus this month. The Marshmallow Blanket is not 100% acrylic, so that particular organization doesn't take any blankets that are not 100% acrylic, which is fine. I'll just keep that blanket in my finished objects pile in case I have a friend or family member who has a baby, and then I can just reach in, grab that finished object, wrap it up pretty, and give it for a gift. Let me know down in the comments which blanket was your favorite. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep calm and crochet on.